Ace Daily does look good. Really, really super good. Probably longer term. Right now, this is looking a little bit like deviation. Could it pop and run? Yeah, but I kind of don't think so. I think it will want to check back down. One, two, three. This is kind of the top of our. I mean, it could be a five-wave run. They'll certainly do happen, but this is looking pretty traditional, right? You have a nice pop here. Some solid consolidation here. Drop to the downside, bounce. I had talked about that. People have been saying, "Oh, what about you? What about ETH?" It's like, yeah, it's going to bounce eventually because it's underperformed Bitcoin for so long. It was just so laggy. It was so due for a bounce. We just didn't know when, right? I mean, I kind of bagged on ETH a little bit too. I'm not a big fan. Anyway, let's get back to the action. Sorry. So first bounce, good consolidation. Second bounce, this is your stronger leg here, and then not that much of a dip in consolidation, but a weaker drive. The weaker third drive that's just looking so toppy, and of course you're up here in your maximum resistance range, right? 47, yeah, 46.65. Actually, because that is going to be long-term structural resistance. So you might see it push up there, but I doubt it. It's going to check back down at some point. We have a rising channel here. It would be nice to see it, catch that and confirm that as support, but I just don't foresee that. And we're look at our momentum indicators here. MACD still kind of looks like it's softening a little bit according to the histogram. We're seeing some some stable action up here in the adaptive band, and so that does mean that it has pulled the range up, right? So you can pretty much say that like this area down here is probably done. This looks like pretty strong support right here. So 28, 29 area looks really, really strong. There's a step here too. Yeah, 35-ish. That'd be a nice spot to bounce actually. In order for these momentum indicators to resolve on the weekly time frame, the price will have to come back down. Well, let's look at the daily and decide what we think it's going to do this week. SRSI is looking a little toppy. This is looking a little bit like a rising consolidation at the top of a flag, which I never like. Although we have a 1 second push, so you could see a little bit more, or you could just see it bounce around, get this wiki rising consolidation action, and that would be the equivalent of your third push. As both of these need to resolve. SRSI does still have some room. MACD, I mean, historically, it's pretty high. This week, I'm going to cheat and go down the 4 hour for a quick second. Okay, let's say it continues to drift up and then falls off. So maybe like Thursday, I expect it to kind of peak. I don't think it'll drift up for the entire week, although it could. In either event, next week I'd be looking for downside movement. Gold's holding up really, really well. Obviously, anytime you have consolidation, it is either accumulation or distribution. I think you probably see some continuation up on gold once it's cooled off a little bit. It had a great run. It just needs some time to cool off a little bit. But I think that the continuing global uncertainty and tensions will support gold. Tether dominance. Looking like it's actually finding a little support down here. I do like it, really do like the fact that we dipped down almost to 4. That is nice. And we have this trend line here. Looks like we have confirmed that trend line for a flip to resistance. Although we do have support again in this area, so I think we're going to swing back up. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because this is kind of cuppy here. We potentially could get a W pattern. There is going to be a push back up, a test back up to be sure. I'm just not sure how high that would be. I would probably think of this just as ranging right now. Okay, so it's come back down. It is it's confirmed that it is below this range here, but it's probably going to come back up and retest that. So it'll probably come back up to maybe 4.5 again, and then drop off. So the tether dominance basically tells us how much money is in the market, right? How much capital is available, because when people get scared, they stable up. So the USDT dominance is a measure of how much is in stables and versus how much is deployed. Bitcoin dominance tells us how everything else is doing versus Bitcoin. I like the way it's challenging our rising channel here. This is a really, really long-term channel. I think it came off the weekly. It's been going on for a long time. Really want to see it like wobble here and then break down. So this is interesting because the downside momentum, the longer term on the MACD hasn't quite bottomed yet. It's still going pretty strong, but the SRSI wants to pop back up. And this was a really, really deep drop here, quick. This was really fast, and came up. We got a short continuation. I don't know that it's ready to break down out of there yet. A lot of times you see on a channel, and this is kind of rough, obviously, but it came off of, it works pretty well with those that led into it, which I like. But in any event, it often comes back and tests the midline of the channel. Maybe it comes back up to like 63, 63 and a half, maybe 64, and then checks back down. But we have this long-term descending trend line here. Looks like that has confirmed as resistance. I'm really, really happy to see that hold, because I mean, Bitcoin has been super dominant. It's been the big player. It's no surprise that it attracts a lot of the money. We have the ETFs. There's a lot of things that play into that. But just killing the alts. And Bitcoin dominance has to get down below, I want to say 50% before the alts start to take off. Traditionally, it's been like 40%. But I just don't think you're going to see those traditional numbers anymore, because the ETF money is not going to roll into alts. Well, it may somewhat roll into maybe some of the major alts, maybe XRP. Big XRP fan, or I'm a fan of their potential. I don't think capital is going to flow through crypto like it has in the past. You're still going to see that ripple effect, that wave, but I think it's going to be dampened. I think it will affect the assets closest to Bitcoin in a greater measure, and that they will retain more of that value. There'll be more of a filter to that value than they have been in the past. It's interesting because actually the overall market capital could go up for even the lesser alts, but as a proportion of the market, as a percentage, I think it's going to drop. Weekly total crypto market cap. It does look like it's probably due for a reset, but this is just all the money in crypto basically. It's kind of nice off this descending cup here. It does look a little bit like a rising wedge, but I like the way it's confirmed this here. Have an inefficiency drawn here from a lower time frame, I guess. It looks like it wants to check back down short term. The weekly, right? I really wanted to see a run later on this year, though. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. I still do expect we're going to have a bullish Q4, as we often do. I had originally just expected to see a significant dip in August. Maybe it'll occur later in August, because September is just like often a dull month, and sometimes soggy at best, usually, and sometimes not good. But October often turns that around. October is the nightmare month, though. In football terms, it's one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams, right? You just never know who's going to show up. Most of the time, October is good. It leads into the holidays and stuff, and you get good earnings reports from retailers, and that really helps drive the market. So I do expect Q4 to be good. I guess I'll hold to my premise and say we probably see a good dip in August. So here we are. It's the same sort of a thing, right? We actually, is it a surprise that everything has a similar kind of chart to Bitcoin? One thing I do want to point out is that like Solana has this is a descending cup, whereas Bitcoin's cup was ascending. It had its high, and then it had a higher high, and then, but you could say that this made a level cup. I mean, the argument could be made for that. I just saw so much consolidation in here that I read it like this. And so we have not hit the target for that yet. And obviously I was bullish on something short term here, which did not play out and probably won't. This looks like it wants to come down. Yeah, the MACD is totally reset. So there's two things here. This could be flaggy, particularly if it swings around the break here. If it swings around that, or you see this continue to rise like this, then I would expect it to go ahead and put in another push. This is it's not reversed, it's just zeroed and ready to move in either direction. Yeah, neutral. So this does have that flaggy potential for another push up, but there's downward pressure on it. Historically, it hasn't stayed up that long. Nice midline reversal. This one's giving mixed signals on the weekly. Toppy on the daily. Probably going to see another short-term push up. Kind of follows Bitcoin. So P, yeah, this is just ripping. This looks so good. So there is a big inefficiency down here, right? Just not a lot of volume in here. I don't have the volume profile on this one, but you can just tell by the action in the volume. I mean, it drove on really good volume. Don't get me wrong, but compared with the accumulated volume up here, it's nothing. We're over $2, right? And that's just in my opinion that's just over and done unless something really catastrophic happens. It looks like it's moved up into this band, and there's got this drawn as a pivot hit as 272 as the top of the range. You broke up into that, maybe you call that deviation. Here's a test back up, really strong rejection off that. Not full engulfing, but really strong rejection. You're like, yeah, no. Okay. Lower or center part of the range here. You might even call this an SR band or like an overlap band, between the two. Another clear range here, and it looks like it's testing out of that. So 272, that looks like that's done. And a lot of sell pressure here. Like you can see the buy pressure with these downside wicks. Sellers were dumping and people were eating that up. Okay. Came back up and then kind of dropped down. Good support here. I'm looking at $3, maybe 295. 295 is developing support here. Expect this to probably, man, this is tough. Probably drift a little bit lower, then pop up, and then drop back down. Of course, you could just pop up and then pop up. But if I was looking to trade this, which I'm not actively trading right now. I haven't even been watching charts. Probably set my first buy at like 315. If you catch something down around $3, you're just laughing. And then for the upside, I'd be targeting 354 maybe. That looks pretty good. You got a bunch of wicks lining up in there. So 355 for the upside target. I would keep an eye on the SRSI. Right? I mean, it comes down here, like I say, it could have a nice wick down. Just don't see $3. I would set a stink order for $3 for sure. Sometimes you do that. Just put in a wish bid, if you want to call it. Say, if price were here, would I buy it? Oh yeah. Well, put in an order, right? Nothing happens. Every once in a while they fill. That's how you catch those crazy wicks. And the same thing for sales orders. I put in wish orders. If this thing went to like $5, would I sell in a heartbeat, man? Well, put an order in. Palantir looks dumpy, super dumpy. I love Palantir. I've been talking about Palantir since it was like 16, $18. Love this stock. Smashed the target. We got a 40% target, and it just crushed it. But left a big gap here, and it's going to come back and fill this gap, absolutely, no doubt. Oh, this is the earnings pop. So Palantir does this like, I don't know, it's like 7 out of the last 9 times. There's probably more now. Anyway, just has this wicked pop on earnings. And this is the daily. Oh man. This would have been such a great trade. I did talk about this on Tuesday. You often get this in action, and if you can get a buy like Thursday or Friday, it's really crushing. And if somebody did that, I mean, not the bottom. Let's see you got here. Let's see you got in 155, right? And you sold here. What's that? 20%. 20%. And that's not even the whole move. But it's reasonable to, say you got that much of it. 20% in 4 days. Not bad. But way overheated, right? So way overheated, and not saying it doesn't have more gas in the tank. It might, but boy howdy. In long term it will. But boy howdy, is it going to come back down. Come back down, fill this for sure. I would not be surprised to see 125 again. Over the next month or two, maybe. This week, 170, maybe. See a good bounce from there. That was an extension too, really. Wow, this was my guess. Right, because it's not even on a wick. Showing that is a local top there. Nice. You can see it acted as resistance here and then support here. Well, here and here. Pretty nice. And then it found the 272 as support as well, potentially. But 170, I would expect to see some kind of a bounce there, but probably not a bounce into a higher high. And again, longer term, looking for a fill down to 160 at least, probably a little bit deeper, like 150, and then potentially back to this 125. Yeah. Cool. I'm really happy about that. Super. I almost never look at super. Oh, this is good. For sure. All right, see why I have this range here. Yeah, this is definitely your buck 45. Definitely a solid resistance right now. It's got some work to do. But again, the SRSI is doing the same thing as that other one. that I looked at, where you're having this. It is rising consolidation, but it is potentially flaggy. So same thing. If you see that continue to rise, fairly likely see a breakout. MACD supports it, has not quite zeroed yet. It's just looking ishy, and I think that's probably because it hasn't really picked a direction yet. You see some more consolidation in here. You can see how this is a consolidation band in through here, 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 and now here. Just an absolute ton of consolidation. I think that's because, look, you had so much down here, right? This is your point of control. That's the red line, the high volume node. A ton of consolidation down here under 20 cents. Right? Just a ton. And then popped up. There is some vacancy in here. I mean, clearly we have a vacancy defined here, but there's a broader one too. And so there is a possibility that it could dip back down in there. I just don't think so. If you looked at it like a meme coin, for instance, it'd say, yeah, I don't know. If I looked at this like a meme coin, I would say, oh yeah, Cabal scamming this one. But that's obviously not the case here. It'd probably be okay. It's just got a lot of work to do. So what do we see? Pump back up here and check that about 45 or so? Maybe. That's potentially happening. But right now, here's your local resistance is like 88, 89, something like that. You got a lot of wick overlap in here. Yeah, maybe something like that. That was pretty good, actually. These wick overlap zones they're really common. So you have the wick overlaps, and then you have these really quick movements through there. Those are the kind of things that show you that is a pivot, like an SR area between major ranges. I need more coffee or something. It's noon. That's funny. So it's just working in this range right now. Now, I like the fact that it deviated down, came back up. This looks like pretty good support there. Really nice drive off of that. So you keep seeing higher highs. I'd be good with that. A daily short-term downward pressure. Really like this developing band here. I'd like to see it stay above that for sure. Here's a double bottom. Came off of that. It didn't really confirm it until it actually broke out. But, so it's up in that range for sure. A little bit of deviation, but tapped it here. A little bit of deviation. Drove nicely off of this. Just since it's a little bit low on the daily. 91. So that's a big range. This is starting to shape out like a falling broadening wedge, and so those are bullish. So it wouldn't be a bad thing for this to dip back down and hit this. And then, because chances are it would just go ripping off of that.